Let me welcome you all to our 11th annual conference, and let me welcome every speaker, every participants here. His Excellency Dr. Talal Ghazali, Aslan Chairman. Dr. Talal Ghazali, Aslan Chairman. Professor, His Excellency Professor Amr Izzat Salama, Secretary General of the Association of Arab Universities. His Excellency Professor Hussein Hazib, Minister of Higher Education and Science and Scientific Research from Yemen. He will be represented by Dr. Muhammad Abdel Haq, his advisor. We'll have a recording video by His Excellency Professor Mahmoud Abu Muis, Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in Palestine. We have also we are honored to have His Excellency Dr. Saif ibn Abdullah al-Haddabi. He is the Under Secretary General for Research and Education at the Ministry of Higher Education in Oman. He will be represented by Dr. Najah al-Rashidi. She is the Director of Innovation Center at Oman University Ministry of Science and Technology. Research, higher education. I'm very sorry. Science and technology is always in our mind. His Excellency Dr. Dia Arafa, Secretary General of High Council for Science and Technology in Jordan. Her Excellency Dr. Dua Khalifa, she is the Minister and Director of Education and Scientific Research and Social Sector at the League of Arab States. Declan Kiran, he is the Chairman of Intelligence for Science at Belgium. Mr. Fabio Di Stefano, Team Leader at Economic Integration. He is from the European Union. Dr. Haidar Frihat, he is Senior Innovation and Technology Advisor at the United Nations ESCWA. We have Dr. Fadila Bughanimi. She is the Deputy Head of Unit at European Commission. We have Eric Hauser, he is the CEO of Giant, our European Research and Education Network Giant. We have Boubacar Bari, CEO of WACRIN, the Western Central Research and Education in Africa. We have Matthew Mtumbunka, he is the CEO of UbuntuNet Alliance at Malawi, which is the Regional Research and Education Network in East and South Africa. We have Luis Cadenas, he's the CEO of Red Clara, the Research and Education Network of Latin America. We have Philip Smith, he's the Senior Network Engineer at our partner Network Startup Resource Center from Australia. We have Andrea Alwasi, he is the Scientific Director of Sesame in Jordan. We have Howard Pfeffer, he is the CEO and the President of Internet 2 of USA. And we have the keynote, Dr. Nazar Hassan from United Nations UNESCO from Cairo office. So as you see, we have excellent participation from all over the world. Some people have say good evening, some people good morning, and so on. So very quickly to brief you about our event, let me share very quickly my screen on. So our event is usually now for this year, it is the 11th version. We are proud that is the 11th conference, but now it's the second virtual conference, but it's going well with the support of our partners. To start with, we have two sponsors. We have also the very good host. We used to do our conference in Arab City every year, but since this year we are virtual, so we got a global regional organization to host our conference, which is the Association of Arab Universities. So thank you, Dr. Amr and the Association of Arab Universities for hosting our conference. We have partners, Africa Connect 3, proud of being a part of Africa Connect 3 and UMID Connect 3, proud with our relation with the Giant, proud and thankful for TAG Global, Talal Abu Ghazali organization, which is hosting us and providing us with a lot of support, financial and logistics and so on. On top of that, also the European Commission for their funding and so on. So this is our event. For this year, we have a 3 days conference with, with some themes around infrastructure or around collaboration, around science cooperation, about science communities, about open science and open science platforms. Before going to the to the sessions, let me again announce that we are using a digital platform. Let's Get Digital which enables the participants not only to see the presentation but also to follow on a network with people, chat, see the exhibition area. They can network with others. So we are inviting you all to be to take part in this platform. Sorry. Further to this, I think it's worth to remember our colleague and brother, Dr. Abdulmunim Al-Kharousi. He was the director of Omrin. He passed away due to COVID last May. So I invite you all to take 1 minute for reading Surah Al-Fatiha or to pray for his soul. Thank you for that. Thank you all for, I'm sorry for the long introduction, but let me now move to our agenda and allow me to invite our chairman, His Excellency, Dr. Talal Ghazali. He is the chairman of ASRIN, chairman of Aruka, chairman of Talal Ghazali Global, and I think the introduction takes much time to introduce him. So, Your Excellency, the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel very humbled in front of this august group of experts on education and on research. And I'm proud to be with you. I'm proud to be part of you and proud to address you. 10 years plus something, the thought of this network to be established was developed through a visit, and I was honored to be invited to address the European Union. And the European Union was, and the European Commission were very generous in their concern about research in the region. And they asked that we develop together some form of structure that would help us learn from the research among the European research centers, and also to develop this research attitude and policy and psychology. It's more than just a decision to create the culture of research in the Arab world. And when I say that, I don't mean there was no research or there is no research. I mean to do it in a structured way. Today, I have a message which I think after 10 years plus, we need to consider, and I look for your support. We need to add research for innovation. Research should not be an abstract objective or an objective in itself. To produce a research or a study and be proud that it's done is wonderful. But I would like to have your support that we need to become innovation oriented. This is the right time under the current revolution, knowledge revolution, the fourth revolution. What we are heading towards is not just a development or an ordinary era in the human life on this planet. We are going into the most important and most serious revolution, which will affect everything in us, around us, by us, for us. So it deserves that we be part of the innovation process in this revolution. We in Talal Ghazali International, next year is our 50th anniversary, and we have produced, which I will ask my colleague Yusuf to send the copies to you. We produced a document called 50 Years of Innovation. We're not talking about success or achievement or whatever it is. We're talking about what innovation we were able to develop so that we became what we are. And I would like this organization, as of this meeting, to become an innovation agent. And we know that knowledge creation is the only way to wealth creation in the future. So we need to be thinking, and I'm glad to announce that we have started the first college of its own in the world, which is Talal Abu Ghazali University College for Innovation. Students at our college do research all the years to come up with an invention. And if they don't do so, they will not graduate. We will not graduate our students by examining them on how memory is good. Our education system today all over the world is based on memorizing and test on your ability to memorize, no more, no less. Now, I didn't want to go into this long statement, except that it is very important because our aim, and we are a business-oriented organization. We are not an educational research strategic centers for studies, no. And that is why we started for the first time establishing, and I want to see focus on that, in partnership with the European Commission, we have established or bought a dedicated internet line. It is now in process, and it's already connected to many research centers in the Arab world and connects them to research centers all over the world. This dedicated research line is an actual implementation of our dream. We have been dreaming about this, the dedicated line on internet line, which we own, to become, and we thank the European Union again for their support on this. I don't want to ignore how much we are grateful to our partners and our partnership with the European Union on this. This will, I think, remain in history and will be remembered in future for one of the most valuable contributions to the future of the Arab world. That's how I see it. It's not just a program or a project. I cannot but thank also the Secretary General of the Arab League of Arab States, whose confidence and support, and I always recall his famous statement, the Arabs face one of two choices: to invent or to perish. العرب يواجهون واحد من خيارين: أن يخترعوا يبدعوا أو أن يندثروا. This is a very wise summary of what this knowledge era is about. So thank you, Your Excellency Ahmed Abul Ghait. And I want to thank my friend and my colleague, His Excellency Professor Amr Izzat Salama, Secretary of State, Secretary General of the Association of the Arab Universities, with whom we have many valuable cooperation and whose support at the universities is very basic for our mission on research in education. I don't want to, we're pleased to proud on the research and education section already in this infrastructure is already in place with Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Sudan, and Somalia, and Oman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, and Jordan. These are our proud partners in this internet dedicated line for research. And I would like to, with your support, to add for innovation. Research, I repeat, and I'm sorry to bore you, should not be for the purpose of research, but for the purpose of innovation and invention. I would like to add that the establishment of the state-of-the-art exchange point in London with advanced technologies to interconnect our research and education work to the rest of the world is already provided by ASREN, and we're very proud to say that. I'm sure the experts will talk and distinguished colleagues and partners about the various achievements so far after 10 years in existence and our aspirations for the future. I am happy to be with you. I'm happy to be part of you, and I don't want to take more time of your important conference and your important contributions. I am just a generalist at your service. You are the experts, you are the leaders, and I'm proud to be at your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And yes, we will present our effort and our achievements during the various sessions. So we will promise that we will take your message to the rest of the sessions and so on. Let me now welcome His Excellency Professor Amr Izzat Salama. He is the Secretary General of the Association of Arab Universities. As His Excellency said, we have a long partnership with the Association of Arab Universities. We recently signed MOU with the association also, and we look forward to take it further, especially in open science and innovation now. So let me welcome His Excellency Professor Amr Izzat Salama, please. The floor is yours now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf. And can I share the screen, please? Is it possible to share the screen? Hello? Can you hear me?
Of course, you can share your screen, please. You can.
Okay. Is it okay now? Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you can take it to full screen, it would be better.
Sure. Thank you very much, Excellencies, dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it is with great pleasure that the Association of Arab University hosts this important event. And on behalf of the association, I would like to welcome all of you, and would like also to thank ASREN, the Arab States Research and Education Network, represented by its chairman, His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu Ghazala, for the opportunity to speak to this distinguished audience. And actually, the association have a lot of work and joint work together with Talal Abu Ghazala as a group. And would like also to thank the speakers, participants, and the organizers of this meeting. Let me say that our societies face significant challenges that cannot be ignored or left for tomorrow. The pandemic inspired shift to online teaching and learning has demonstrated the revolutionary effects of technology in higher education, effects that will continue to be important in the future. The e-infrastructures address the needs of researches for digital services in terms of networking, computing, and data management. The global knowledge-based economy demands a strong research and innovation capacity. And I would like to make sure there about this word innovation. It is dependent on new forms of knowledge, production, and dissemination, and requires the research contexts that are network enabled. At the Association of Arab Universities, we realized that the pathway to solve these and other global challenges is through international cooperation. Therefore, we have opened up opportunities to our 400 or more members universities through international collaboration with leading universities, institutions, and organizations across the globe. Among these, we have signed a memorandum of understanding towards cooperation in scientific areas, especially in research and education infrastructures and services, and with the Arab States Research and Education Network as reinforced. The association look forward to working closely with you to achieve our shared goals. Let me give you a brief about some challenges that's facing Arab higher education. This includes the increased demand for higher education. There is actually a very increased demand among the youth. Weakness and the parents. Weakness of higher education inputs includes students, teachers, curricula, administration, educational facilities, and others. Limited job opportunities, job market. Weakness in keeping pace with the rapid technological developments. Poor scientific research due to the lack of financial capabilities. We have less than 1% of the national income devoted for scientific research. Actually, it's larger, less. It doesn't even come to 0.5% of the all national income of the Arab world. The Arab brain drain, of course, this is one of our problems, and of course the low quality of the higher education. The Arab region countries actually can be categorized into 4 different groups with regards to their progress towards the digital economy. Group 1, the most developed group in the high-income countries of the GCC, the Gulf countries. These states have high internet penetration, high literacy rates, and in most cases, relatively low youth unemployment. The second group includes Jordan and Lebanon, with higher internet penetration due in part to their compact urban nature. The third is rural, lower middle income countries of North Africa, and with Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia. These countries have GDP levels similar to their cousins, but literacy rates are lower, and total of 100 million citizens are unconnected. The fourth group, the final group, includes countries affected by conflict, namely, we are talking about Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Sudan, and Libya, and these developed countries such as Comoros, Djibouti, Mauritania, and Somalia. Well, if we'd like to give some idea about the open resources, open educational resources, OER, let me say that the term open educational resources was first coined at UNESCO's 2002 Forum on Open Courseware, and it was defined in the recent UNESCO recommendation on open educational resources as learning, teaching, and research materials in any format and medium that reside in the public domain or are under copyright that have been released under an open license that permit no cost, access, reuse, repurpose, adaptation, and redistribution by others. The current state of open educational resources in the Arab region, we can mention here that the current state of OER in the entire Arab region remains unclear. There is no explicit vision or policy to support open educational resources adaptation in the Arab region, except in some countries like Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. there is a real lack in terms of OER development and the use in Arab countries, especially in Arabic language. Educational resources in the Arab region are mostly provided online on university platforms or specific repositories without even being open to everyone. The use of the open educational resources is not being used in Arab countries or being used with limited content respectively. The online Arabic resources in general, not only the open educational resources represent less than 3% of the overall internet content. This shows the urgent need to publish more online Arabic content in general and open in particular. The OER is used in a very simple way by accessing open resources online without being used in a structured ways for effective open teaching and collaboration. The open educational resources challenges in the Arab region. These are some of the challenges which in the Arab region we face for the open educational resources. This includes factors that made the Arab region participant face difficulties while developing and publishing EOER. The absence of motivational factors, the lack of time, the copyright problems, the absence of authoring tools, the lack of awareness. The open educational resources initiatives in the Arab world, there are some initiatives including creating open universities, developing OER repositories and MOOCs providers, and organizing e-learning training, seminars and workshops. The accessibility of the open educational resources, with this we can say here that access of OER is not easy due to several issues, including the difficulty of finding a specific OER or the lack of awareness about the open educational resources repositories, and finally, lack of ICT infrastructure in some Arab countries. To support OER accessibility in the Arab region, Alexo is the Arab League Educational, Cultural, Scientific organization, created the OER Commons Alexo Hub with bilingual English-Arabic user interface, which contains OER contents from the 22 Arab countries. In this hub, the user can add, search, and download open educational resources. Some recommendations, which maybe I'd like to say, that support and promote open science initiatives in the Arab region by involving more stakeholders, including university directors, educators, textbooks, publishers, ICT, and internet providers. We need more awareness about open licenses and the way to use them to protect OER publishers is crucial. To increase OER accessibility, several governmental or institutional policies to achieve this goal are needed. More tools are needed to encourage and facilitate developing OER in the Arab region. The open educational resources is being used in very primitive way. This means that by simply accessing published OER online, this should be changed and replaced with more structured and innovative open educational practices, such as open curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment to enhance learning outcomes and skills within learners. Sustainable OER models and strategies should be developed to maintain the open educational resources projects and support lifelong learning. Additionally, more partnership between the Arab countries should be established to encourage the knowledge of sharing and increase OER accessibility in the entire Arab region. To be noted here, actually, that the awareness about the OER advantages in learning in the Arab region is high, since Alexo and the Association of Arab Universities organized several workshops and conferences in several Arab countries to achieve this purpose. In addition, the Association of Arab Universities recently the first regional forum for open science in the Arab states was organized in Cairo by the Egyptian National Commission in cooperation with UNESCO Regional Bureau for Sciences in the Arab states. Finally, the Association of Arab Universities, as the platform for the Arab universities and higher education stakeholders for the region, contributes to advance higher education in the Arab world, especially in the fields of research, scientific, publishing, digital transformation, capacity building, and quality assurance. The association has adopted a number of academic and scientific projects, such as the Arab University Ranking Project, the Arabic Periodicals Project, the Arab Impact Factor Project, Quality Assurance Program in Higher Education, the Arab Qualifications Framework Project. In addition, the association signed an agreement with many companies, organizations, such as Elsevier, Coursera, and ASRIN, of course. Let me at the end say that to be noted that the awareness about OER advantages in learning in the Arab region is high. As I said, since both Alexo and association are working hard for this thing. Thank you very much, and looking forward for a fruitful event, inshallah.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor, Your Excellency, Professor Amr Azzat. I agree with you, and we are taking the open science and open access into our plans, and we look forward to work together on that.
Sure.
Shukran jazilan. Let me now welcome His Excellency, Professor Hussein Hazib. He's the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Yemen. He will be represented by Dr. Mahmoud Silwi. He's the advisor for the minister. Please, Dr. Mahmoud.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. بداية ننقل لسعادتكم تحيات وتقدير معالي وزير التعليم العالي والبحث العلمي في الجمهورية اليمنية الأستاذ حسين علي حازب. ويقدم إليكم اعتذاره.
Let me just add one thing. I would like to, you can, because the presentation is in Arabic, you can enable live transcript for those who want to see it in English. Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, واصل. بداية ننقل لسعادتكم تحيات وتقديرات معالي وزير التعليم العالي والبحث العلمي في الجمهورية اليمنية الأستاذ حسين علي حازب وزير التعليم العالي، واعتذاره عن الحضور بسبب تعرضه لوعكة صحية مفاجئة مساء أمس، وكلفني بإلقاء الكلمة نيابة عنه. معالي الأستاذ الدكتور طلال أبو غزالة رئيس المنظمة العربية لشبكات البحث والتعليم، رئيس المؤتمر ال11 للمنظمة العربية لشبكات البحث والتعليم، السيدات والسادة المشاركون في المؤتمر، ممثلي الاتحاد الأوروبي والمنظمات العربية والدولية وشبكات البحث والتعليم المحلية والإقليمية والعالمية في كل من أوروبا وأمريكا وأفريقيا وآسيا، السيدات والسادة المشاركون في المؤتمر من أكاديميين وباحثين وعلماء وخبراء الشبكات وصانع القرار من الحكومات والمؤسسات والمنظمات غير الحكومية والمجتمع المدني، الحاضرون جميعا كل باسمه وصفته، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأسعد الله بالخير صباحكم. باسمي ونيابة عن زملائي في وزارة التعليم العالي والبحث العلمي وقطاعاتها والمؤسسات التابعة لها والجامعات اليمنية الحكومية والأهلية في الجمهورية اليمنية، أتقدم بخالص الشكر والتقدير وبالغ الامتنان لسعادة الدكتور طلال أبو غزالة رئيس المؤتمر على تفضله بدعوتنا للمشاركة معكم في المؤتمر السنوي ال11 لمنظمتكم الموقرة المنظمة العربية لشبكات البحث والتعليم e-AGE21. وتمثل هذه الدعوة بالنسبة لنا نافذة لفتح الآفاق لمزيد من التواصل والشراكات مع الخارج في البحث العلمي، وإتاحة المجال لمشاركتنا معكم للعام الثاني على التوالي في المؤتمرات والملتقيات التي تنظمها وتقيمها منظمتكم الموقرة، ورسالة نثمنها ونقدرها على مستوى الوزارة والحكومة اليمنية. السيدات والسادة، إن ظهور متحورات جديدة لفيروس كوفيد-19 الخطير في عدد من دول العالم، الوقت الذي لا تزال الدول تعاني منه، وما قد تؤول إليه هذه المتحورات في قادم الأيام يضعنا أمام تحديات كبيرة يتطلب منا بذل الجهود والاستعداد لمواجهة أي إشكاليات أو معوقات محتملة، وضرورة البحث عن وسائل وبدائل أخرى لاستمرار الحياة الطبيعية وعجلة التنمية والعملية التعليمية في كافة مؤسسات التعليم المختلفة. ومن هنا نقدم شكرنا وتقديرنا للمنظمة العربية لشبكات البحث والتعليم ممثلة برئيسها البروفيسور طلال أبو غزالة، التي وضعت نصب عينيها هذا الأمر وتبنت باهتمام طرح هذا الموضوع منذ العام الماضي وهذا العام، وإتاحة المجال للعديد من المنظمات والمؤسسات العربية والدولية والأكاديميين والباحثين والعلماء والمهتمين وصناع القرار وغيرهم لمناقشة أحد أهم المجالات التي تسعى المنظمة من خلال هذا المؤتمر إلى تحقيق الأهداف التالية: تطوير البنية التحتية العربية للبحث والتعليم ورفع كفاءتها، إثراء البحث العلمي في البنى التحتية الإلكترونية وتطبيقاتها وتعزيز استخداماتها لتوسيع وتعزيز المشاركة البحثية عبر هذه البنى، والوصول إلى المصادر والبيانات الحوسبية العالمية. 3. تطوير شبكات البحث والتعليم الوطنية والإقليمية والعالمية والحوسبة العلمية ومنصات العلوم الإلكترونية كثيفة البيانات وغيرها من الأهداف. السيدات والسادة، نجدها فرصة للتحدث إليكم عبر منصة المؤتمر وإلى بقية المشاركين من الخبراء والعلماء من جميع أنحاء العالم، ونقل صورة ولو مصغرة لما يجري في بلدنا العزيز الجمهورية اليمنية، والذي يتعرض لعدوان وحصار ظالمين منذ 7 سنوات لا مبرر لهما، استهدف كل مقدرات ومؤسسات الدولة العامة والخاصة، وفي مقدمتها مؤسسات التعليم عموما والتعليم العالي على وجه الخصوص، إضافة إلى ما يواجهه من تحديات جائحة كورونا. وبالرغم من هذه التحديات وغيرها والتي تطرقنا إليها بشكل أوسع في كلمتنا أثناء انعقاد الملتقى الدولي العاشر في العام الماضي، فقد ساهمت هذه التحديات بشكل كبير في زيادة معاناة المواطنين والطلبة والنزوح والكوادر العلمية الذين اضطر البعض منهم للهجرة إلى الخارج، إلا أننا استطعنا أن نتجاوز البعض منها والقيام بمسؤولياتنا وواجباتنا تجاه وطننا ومجتمعنا وبدعم قيادتنا السياسية والحكومة. السيدات والسادة، قبل 3 أسابيع من الآن، وتحديدا من خلال الفترة 21 إلى 22 تشرين الثاني نوفمبر 2021، عقدنا المؤتمر الثاني للتعليم الإلكتروني في مؤسسات التعليم العالي، والذي نظمته الوزارة ومركز تقنية المعلومات التابع لها. شارك فيه أكاديميون وباحثون ومهتمون من اليمن ومن سلطنة عمان والبحرين والسودان وليبيا والأردن. وهدف المؤتمر إلى مناقشة القضايا ذات الصلة بالتعليم الإلكتروني وتعزيز بنيته التحتية في الجامعات والاستفادة من تجارب العديد من الدول. وحقق المؤتمر نجاحا باهرا وخرج بتوصيات مهمة في هذا الاتجاه. كما عقدت الكثير من المؤتمرات والندوات العلمية في عدد من الجامعات والمؤسسات الحكومية والخاصة، وهناك فعاليات علمية أخرى ستقام خلال العام القادم بإذن الله تعالى. السيدات والسادة، في ختام كلمتنا نتمنى لمؤتمركم هذا التوفيق والنجاح والخروج بالتوصيات المهمة التي لا شك أنها ستفيدنا كثيرا في الوزارة ومركز تقنية المعلومات لتطوير برامجنا وخططنا في هذا الجانب. ولا يسعنا أخيرا إلا أن نجدد لكم الشكر على اهتمامكم ودعوتكم لنا للمشاركة، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أخوكم الأستاذ حسن علي حاسب، وزير التعليم العالي والبحث العلمي، الجمهورية اليمنية صنعاء. شكرا لكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. بارك الله فيك. Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud, to speak on behalf the Minister, and we wish him a smooth recovery, and please send our greetings to him. And further to that, we look forward to see how we can support Yemen in terms of developing the infrastructure and connecting to the rest of the research and education networks that what we do for other countries. We hope we can support Yemen in that also. Let's discuss this. Next, allow me to welcome His Excellency Professor Mahmoud Abu Muwais. He is the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in Palestine. He was planning to attend in person and virtually by himself, but unfortunately he had a meeting, so they sent us a short recording, just recording message for all of you. So let's hear from him.
His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu Ghazali, ASRIN Chairman, His Excellency Professor Amir Izzat Salama, Secretary General Association of Arab Universities in Jordan, His Excellency Professor Hussein Hazeb, Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, Republic of Yemen, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start my words by thanking the Arab States Research and Education Network, ASRIN, for their precious efforts in supporting the development of quality of education and scientific research in Arab countries, including Palestine, as well as promoting cooperative relationships with other countries around the world. We in the Ministry of Higher Education believe in the role of Palestinian researchers in achieving the aspiration of our people towards freedom, independence, and development in response to Palestinians' government's vision of achieving global development goals in 2030. Therefore, to improve our higher education and scientific research, huge and concrete efforts between Palestinians, regional and international institutions of higher education and scientific research provided by ASRIN are needed, as well as the link among Arab and international researchers all over the world through high-speed data communication network. Thus, we are looking forward to cooperating with ASRIN to seize a golden opportunity to develop the quality of higher education and scientific research in Palestine, in addition to research and educational institutions as well as researchers, especially young ones. It's our emphasis here in Palestine to merge more and more researchers within this network and overcome obstacles faced to reach the best levels of interaction with Arab and international researchers. In conclusion, I'm very grateful for your effort in organizing this conference, wishing you all success in the service of education in general and scientific research in particular, and hoping all nations achieve their aspirations for development and prosperity.
So, join me in thanking His Excellency Professor Mahmoud Abu Muwais for this message, and we are proud that we are also providing support to Palestine, and we are proud of researchers in Palestine also. We have two speakers who will be speaking on different topics in the coming 2 days from Palestine. So Palestine is a priority for us, and we hope we can serve Palestine more, especially that they have very good researchers. Let me now move to Oman. His Excellency Dr. Saif bin Abdullah al-Haddabi. He is Under Secretary for Research and Innovation. I like the word innovation, so we'll take the innovation in our context in the future. At the Ministry of Higher Education, he will be represented, he apologizes, and he is represented by Dr. Najah Al-Rashidi. She's the Director General of Innovation Center, which is of relevance to us. So let me welcome Dr. Najah. The floor is yours, please, now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Your Excellencies, dear representatives of the national and regional research and education networks, scientists, researchers, academics, and students, to the whole community. It is to my pleasure to speak to you today on behalf of His Excellency Dr. Saif bin Abdullah al-Haddabi, the Undersecretary of the Scientific Research and Innovation at the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation, and to convey his greetings for a successful conference and fruitful discussions towards enhancing the role of research and education infrastructure in the Arab region. Building on the vision of the Sultanate, previously 2020 and the current vision 2040, Oman established the Omani Research and Education Network, OMREN, in 2014 with very high-level commitment and support from the Omani leaders. With this support and leadership, OMRAN has established itself over the years as one of the most advanced national research and education networks in the world through the provision of high-quality connectivity and advanced services in support of the national and international R&E collaborations in the Sultanate. Please let me recall here the role of the late Dr. Abdul Mun'im Al-Kharousi, Director of OMRAN, who sadly passed away this year, with his significant contribution to OMRAN and to the Arab research and education networks as well. By his exceptional efforts and remarkable determination that OMRAN is what it is today. Recently, OMRAN conducted its annual OMRAN Technology Summit under the patronage and support of the Ministry of Transport and Communication and Information Technology and the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation, with more than 500 participants from 20 countries, featuring 26 speakers. The focus of the discussions was primarily on enhancing research and education through the development of a robust, sustainable, and reliable research and education infrastructure, typically provided at the national level by the national research and education networks and through regional research and education networks at the regional level. The OMRAN Technology Summit recognized the importance of the development of research and education infrastructure in the Arab countries. This is motivated by the need for high-speed internet connectivity, to conduct research through open science and to share data-intensive computations, repositories, and experiences among scientists in Oman and other countries in the Arab region, Europe, and the rest of the world, and to ensure that the Arab region has a firm place on the global R&E connectivity map. The Arab States Research and Education Network, which is the unifying voice of the Arab research and education network community. The OMRAN agreed to announce the Muscat Declaration on supporting the development of national and regional research and education infrastructure. The main objectives of this declaration is a call of action to recognize and foster the role of the research and education networks across the Arab region and to advocate as follows. First, the necessity and urgency of developing a national research and education network in the countries that currently are without. This should be associated with the governance and sustainability plans and actions. Second, supporting the existing research and education networks in the Arab countries by providing them with the required capacities, capabilities, and funding following successful models in some Arab countries. And third, the necessity and urgency of support for supporting the development of a regional pan-Arab research and education network to facilitate R&E collaborations across Arab countries and beyond by endorsing the ongoing mission of the Arab States Research and Education Network. National research and education networks in the Gulf region are called upon to join forces among each others and with ASREN for optimized national international internet capacity deployment, for creating an Arab-wide sharing and learning community, and for ensuring participation in discussions and activities for the global R&E networking community. Now, this is to be supported by national authorities and stakeholders. Those are the Ministries of Higher Education and Scientific Research to support the creation and sustainability of those networks, Ministries of Information and Communications Technologies to support the establishment of the national network and to facilitate interconnecting universities and research institutions, National Telecom Regulatory and National Telecom Operators to provide subsidized and tariffs in addition to the possibility of providing corporate social responsibility and the National ICT Fund. National funding and national research and education authorities to take the appropriate responsibility, especially in terms of funding, sustainability, and monitoring. Also, this to be supported by regional organizations. Those are the League of Arab States and the Arab regional organizations, including Arab League Educational, Culture and Scientific Organizations, Association of African Universities, Federation of Arab Scientific Research Council, Arab Information Technology Organization, Arab Monetary Fund, Islamic Development Bank, Arab Fund of Economic and Social Development, in addition to the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia, are all invited to support the development of this pan-Arab regional research and education network. As I see this oneness and collaboration between all the parties to create a harmony towards mutual benefits, I can only expect a stronger connection and a one-way direction to achieve the targets we are looking for. And it is with so much appreciation and gratefulness to this wonderful team that I will end my speech by wishing you all the best of luck. And with all that have been achieved during the past years, we hope that next year will carry with it greater opportunities and wider ambitions for continuous development and prosperity for the Arab nations and the whole world to be healthy and peacefully connected. All the best. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Najah. Indeed, innovation comes from Oman. It starts with Muscat Declaration, which is a very important declaration. I'd like to thank the Ministry, special thanks to Dr. Saif bin Abdullah al-Haddabi for taking the concept of Muscat Declaration to action and to recommendation, which has been circulated and approved also by our chairman with the press release altogether. And now it's going through the various targets, and we hope we can take it, get some news that we can announce next year, as just you called. Let me welcome now His Excellency Dr. Dia Arafa. He is the Secretary General of Higher Council of Science and Technology of Jordan. Dr. Dia, the floor is yours now, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Yusuf, for your efforts in bringing this conference. Your Excellencies, Dr. Talal Abu Ghazali and Professor Amir Salama, dear colleagues, I start by thanking the Arab States Research and Education Network, ASREM, for organizing the 11th annual conference e-AGE21 on the infrastructure for science and beyond. I would like to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to ASREM for honoring me with their kind invitation to speak in this opening session, along with the esteemed foremost and eminent group of scientists, experts, policymakers, economic leaders, and key stakeholders and acknowledge ASREN for supporting the Arab research communities with services that include connectivity, access, and mobility services, in addition to collaboration tools and platforms, for their role in flourishing this conference and helping it reaching its outputs. On my note, I should mention that this conference is unique and important. It is hosted on the theme with no less clear today, with focus on three key events: infrastructure and services, Arab regional and global science cooperation, and the third is the first Arab event on open science. To combine efforts, share experiences and practices in openness, and join commitments that deepens and enhances mutual cooperation and dialogue and promotes businesses developments for a new economy to equip the future generations well to address the global challenges of tomorrow. I take the advantage of this meeting to give a quick overview of the role of the Higher Council for Science and Technology, which is the national umbrella for science and technology in Jordan. The Higher Council for Science and Technology is chaired by His Royal Highness Prince Al Hassan bin Talal, to the Prince of Science and Scholars. As one of the council's goals to harness science and technology to service society and create partnership and networking with the ecosystem. It is also keen as the scientific arm of the Jordanian government to include the national policy and strategy for technology and creativity for economic development sectors paramount importance to meet the challenges of tomorrow. Allow me to highlight on two related initiatives that promote and support innovation in Jordan. The first one is that in 2018, the Higher Council of Science and Technology established the National Center for Innovation that aims to organize and coordinate efforts of all stakeholders within a comprehensive and integrative framework that provides the business environment with a clear direction and guidelines for economic opportunities and investments, and promotes participation in line with the standards of innovation ecosystem worldwide to improve in Jordan, the entrepreneur environment and to reach the best global practices. The NCI also aims to assist in executing tasks and promote Jordan as an innovation hub in the region through its digital platform, the Jordan Open Innovation Platform, JOIP. The second initiative is that in a major information revolution of e-AGE and witnessing the digital transformation, the world is addressed by the language of numbers, which has resulted in the creation of databases and banks to store information. The Higher Council for Science and Technology founded the National Information Center for Science and Technology with a system relying on actuarial charts meet the needs in the public and private sectors to assist the administration in taking appropriate decisions at appropriate times and anticipating the future by inverting in our real capital, the human capital. The conceptual data model is the basic first step in building comprehensive databases based on truth, integrity, flexibility, efficiency, and usability without redundancy, through a system that includes the following dimensions: the holistic information, national and institutional, the human and social, educational and scientific and research dimension. In view of the fourth industrial revolution, sources of wealth changes from natural materials to information, to knowledge society and knowledge economy, whose raw materials are smart human resources, smart partnership, and its means of education and training. Then employment as the key to productivity, competitiveness, and economic performance to create new knowledge and adapt it to build growth, innovation, and pioneering leadership. In line with the themes of this conference, I should perhaps state that the methods of practicing scientific research and its tools have changed drastically in the current era. Researchers and scientists who work alone and in isolation can no longer contribute effectively and efficiently to technological innovation and social developments. There is a need for cooperation between multidisciplinary research centers and educational institutions and the use of modern means in conducting scientific research, which consequently leads to the developments of industry and the increase of creativity and innovation, and then upgrading to knowledge societies and knowledge economy. The scientific infrastructure plays a major role in facilitating this cooperation and enabling these institutions to launch and join a world that is globalizing and progressing. The same applies to education in terms of reliance, cooperation, and collaboration between educational institutions and universities at national, regional, and global levels to provide the best academic content and present it to students through the best educational platforms and resources. Thus, it became necessary to find and develop infrastructure to serve and facilitate such cooperation to promote the level of research and education. Most countries of the world have built high-performance national networks to be allocated to link universities and educational research institutions at the national level in what is known as the National Research and Education Network, NREN, and then link these networks to the regional level to form the Regional Network for Research and Education, RREN, to form what is known finally as the Global Research and Educational Network. In closing, I would like to invite you to harness your energies to think about the future generations and innovative mechanisms to find solutions to challenges that will face our generations today, and to direct them for learning in order to establish the fact that the development is governed by the ability to shorten time and realize, of course, shorten time and distance as well, and to realize that innovation is the only way to prevent extinction. At the same time, I wish ASREN a very success in this conference, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dia. Thank you very much for the guidance and for the. We, as I said always, we look forward to cooperate with the council, with the higher science council, higher council for science and technology, and look forward to cooperation. And we already started INDU, and we will take it further, inshallah. Thank you very much, Doctor. And now, as His Excellency, our chairman said, the League of Arab States is the key and the host, and where they support us at all levels. Now we have Her Excellency Dr. Dua Khalifa. She is the Director of Education and Scientific Research and Sector at the League of Arab States. So allow me to welcome Dr. Dua and thank her for her continuous support all the time. Please, Dr. Dua, the floor is yours now.
Okay, thank you. Hello. Assalamu alaikum. His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu Ghazala, ASREN Chairman, His Excellency Dr. Amr Salama, Secretary General of the Arab Association of Arab Universities, dear Representative, Your Excellency Dr. Musa Mohammed Abu Muiz, Minister for Higher Education in Palestine, representative of the Ministers of Higher Education in Yemen, and also representative of from Higher Education in Sultanate Oman and Jordan, Mr. Yusuf Torman, Executive Director, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable guests. I'm pleased to be here with you and to convey the greetings of His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Abul Ghaid, the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, and his wishes for this conference to be a success, and for enhancing and developing the joint cooperation in education and scientific research. It's my pleasure to welcome the excellencies and the ministers and also all representatives from all over the countries, the regional and international organization, academics, and all participants. I would like in this occasion to convey and to express my deep thanks and appreciation to His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu Ghazala for his cooperation with the League of Arab States and also to Mr. Yusuf Turman and his ARSEN group for organizing this important conference and for their efforts, which focusing on the extensive electronic infrastructures to connect universities and educational and research institutions in the Arab world. Dear guests, the League of Arab States recognize the necessity to enhance in the future of scientific research and to promote and develop it, and to encourage creativity and innovation in all levels of educational stage through setting up strategies and plans, implementation of the fourth goal of sustainable of the SDGs, where the Arab strategy of scientific research, technology, and innovation adopted by the Arab Summit held in Jordan in 2017 included a whole chapter in the field of informatics, and then last prepared a complementary document in cooperation with its partners from Arab specialized organizations, the Arab Strategy of Scientific Research in the economic, social, and cultural fields, to be submitted to the Minister of Higher Education, expected by the end of this month in Algeria. This strategy is a platform of and embodiment of unified Arab vision to promote scientific and technological research and innovation in the Arab world, and has included 14 areas of research, development, and innovation, aiming to bring the scientific research system in the Arab world to the level where it contributes clearly to the process of economic and social development. Ladies and gentlemen, the Arab world faces great challenges resulting from rapid changes, information revolution, the repercussions of the fourth and fifth industrial revolution in the form of future jobs, and the expected disappearance of many jobs in light of technological changes and digital transformation. Future jobs will be such artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and information technology, especially that the rest of the world seeks to develop its educational system continuously to reach the best outputs at the lowest cost. So the focus now on the quality, of education is essential. Obtaining the skills that young people must master to keep up with the requirements of the labor market, in addition to the importance of upgrading the Arab electronic infrastructure by strengthening the role of education and promoting science and technology and developing the capacity of innovation and cooperating with research and education leaders in the Arab countries. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, last, League of Arab States, taking into consideration also the instability, the crisis, and appropriate and the conflicts that is facing some of the Arab countries, which require appropriate solution and alternatives to their national, to cope with their national situation, which causes obstacles to achieve the progress in technology to the extent that there is no availability in some areas to internet connection inside the country itself, or the capacity to obtain the technological tools for that because of the lockdowns or lack of infrastructure, in addition to the crisis of the pandemic. Based on that, LAS is now preparing an Arab plan for education in crisis and emergencies with a cooperation with Arab Organization for Education and Culture and Science, and also with the Association of Arab Universities. Dear guests, distinguished guests, the Arab League has paid great attention also to the issue of intellectual property rights since the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, in 2000, and is keen to achieve the protection of intellectual property rights of researchers and inventors, and link between technology and access in order to preserve society's right to access technology, particularly medical technology, and access to medical innovations and medicines, especially for those eligible from developing and less developed countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the strategy of science, of open science, and its aim to obtain science to all, so that science becomes more connected to society until research, laboratories, data, software, scientific journals, and educational resources are open and available to all. It's a good and a necessity thing. Therefore, the League of Arab States recommend in the conclusions of the first regional forum on open science in September this year, hosted by the Republic of Egypt, that the preparation of the Arab strategy for open science to be an integral part of LA's Arab strategy of scientific research, technology, and innovation, and attached to it with the emphasis on ensuring intellectual property rights and the assets of scientific research, and setting up legislation governing it. The completion of these strategies and plans with scientific has taken many years of effort, and all Arab specialized organizations concerned with scientific and technological research and innovation have participated in preparing them to reflect the reality and aspirations of the Arab scientific research, which has been approved and adopted by the Arab leaders as a method of joint action in this area, which invites us all to work on implementing the objectives of these strategies and building on what they say. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to conclude by saying that I'm looking forward that this conference reaches the best conclusions and recommendations to contribute to the support and development of education and scientific research networks. Thank you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Indeed, the guidance and the leadership of the League of Arab States and the message of His Excellency, the Secretary General, is welcomed, and please convey our message that we are also committed to achieve the objectives of ASRIN, and we will be in touch with coordination as always with the League of Arab States. Thank you very much. Recently, we participated as at the Science Summit, which was conducted during the United Nations General Assembly 76th. This was facilitated by Dr. Declan Keran. He is the chairman of Intelligence and Science from Belgium. He was the chairman of that Science Summit. So let me invite Declan to speak quickly about the outcome of this summit. He will be also chairing the first session tomorrow on the same topic on science cooperation and collaboration. So Declan, the floor is yours, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Good afternoon.
Alaikum salam. Good afternoon.
Esteemed Excellencies, esteemed fellow speakers, and Dr. Torman, all honor to you in putting together this wonderful meeting. So thank you very much for giving me the floor and for this nice introduction. And it's been a delight to listen to speakers. So what I will do is I'll just provide some observations and give you some perspective, as Dr. Torman has suggested, from the perspective of the Science Summit at the United Nations General Assembly. 76, and indeed we are preparing for the Science Summit 77 in September of next year. So general observations first would include, I've heard much commitment to the idea of open science among the esteemed speakers earlier on. I think this is absolutely wonderful. However, what I would suggest is that this is understood in policy and regulatory terms in particular, and I'm speaking from the perspective of some experience with the European Union and also from a global perspective, having worked at the United Nations level on the issue of the impact of regulation on data for science. And I would, again, in the limited time available here, what I would like to do is to suggest that the esteemed representatives from the esteemed organizations representing science in the region really urgently focus on the issue of regulation on science, doing research, collaboration at national level, at regional level, and at global level. What is regulation? The regulation comes in many flavors, but of course, I think the poster child for regulation would be the regulations concerning data privacy and data protection. You'll be familiar with the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, which started as a policy item about maybe 10 years ago and was put into law approximately 3 years ago and is now in application, in use. Now, I think it's fair to say that the research community in the European Union, even after this long process, is still beginning to come to terms with how the regulation impacts on science. So on that experience, I'd really encourage the community represented here today to urgently develop a thought process on this, to develop a position on this, and also to develop a regulatory environment which enables science to work in a regulated, increasingly regulated environment. And this, of course, I mean at state level in the Arab region, also within the context of the regional level, and then between the region and the rest of the world. Already, I know that that Qatar has a legislation number 13 concerning privacy and the protection of personal data. Saudi Arabia has a law, I believe it's called. Yes, it is. The Personal Data Protection Law, promulgated on the 24th of September 2021. And then the UAE also has a related piece of regulation. As far as I know, these are the only regulations dealing with data privacy in the region. However, the broad point I want to make is that these regulations, the regulations outside the region that have applicability in the region, called extraterritorial application, will all impact how you do science. In particular, of course, you will know and appreciate this relates to the use of personal data. And of course, this obviously would apply to health-related sciences and related research programs, but it extends in many other areas as well. The Court of Justice in Germany recently decided that the data relation to the consumption of energy in a personal capacity is personal data. So it has many applications, and an emerging one by way of another example is the use of space-based data. So wide application, and I just would really like to stress that talking about open science and everything that might mean is potentially ignoring one of the very fundamental aspects of sharing data. And of course, besides data protection and data regulation, we also have to consider how trust can be enabled at regional level. I think this is also something that needs to be considered. And of course, then you'd be familiar with the fair use of data findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reuse of data. And again, what I would encourage the parties here to do is to understand how the related regional and national policies can be enabled to support scientific research and collaborative scientific research interregionally and of course at global level as well. This came out, so this issue of data protection came out very strongly from the Science Summit at the United Nations General Assembly. What also emerged hugely was the importance of engagement and creating enabling environments for not only sharing data, but building partnerships and collaborations. This sounds a bit pedestrian and easy to do. Very often it's not. It needs a lot of thought, it needs a lot of preparation, and it needs a lot of encouragement, and it needs a lot of hand-holding on the part of the research organizations to enable global collaborations. And these are becoming increasingly important as we need to address the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the contribution of science to achieving those goals. And you're beginning to see this in the United Nations Global Sustainability Report, where there's an increasing role recognized for science. But this has to be driven, and I think the community attendant at this meeting here today can and should make an increased contribution to that discussion. In particular, I would like, through the good offices of Dr. Torman, to engage with you to participate in the meeting in September next year as a regional grouping, but also interacting with many of the other stakeholders at hand. The other point that came very strongly from the Science Summit was funding, and of course you're all familiar with the funding challenge. But what we did was we looked around and we saw, for example, that if you look at the development finance bodies, and you'll know them to be the World Bank and the IMF, and we heard an earlier reference to the Arab Development Bank. These banks have a huge role to play in a pandemic era, and indeed in a period of global stresses. So if you look at the strategies of these organizations, you will see that they are beginning, and I stress beginning, to understand science as an enabler to address global challenges. So I think this dialogue has to be really strengthened. That, I mean, the input of representatives at this organization developing inputs to the dialogue at development finance level, but also thereafter looking at how development finance bodies can indeed fund science. And I think this is something that came out very strongly from the Global Summit earlier this year, and will be a strong theme for next year. And again, I think this is vitally important as one talks about the global nature of science. The final perhaps point that I would make is the importance of skills. Hasn't really been mentioned yet, but very, very important to recognize the huge contribution and importance of skills to all scientific endeavors. And I think this needs to be considered in tandem with issues surrounding science, surrounding research, and then obviously looking towards creating this enabling environment, but skilling, upskilling and reskilling as we look at intergenerational initiatives to support science is very, very, very and hugely important in order to optimize policies. More just a short word then, in February of next year, the European Union will meet the African Union under the title of the EU-AU Summit, which happens about every 3 years, but because of COVID, it was 1 year delayed. So it's 4 years since the last one. And this will set in train a whole series of dialogues between these two blocks. My point here is that my and colleagues will be working to increase the dialogue around science within the context of that summit. But of course, the point that I think that's relevant here, and I know that ASREN covers African nations, but more generally, we're working to include a very strong global dimension, an SDG, if you like, dimension to the discussions around the summit in February next year. You will see some, I hope, have seen or will learn later from some wonderful initiatives from the European Union, principally the Global Gateway Initiative, which you can read about, and Dr. Torman will share links. But I think this is very important in just providing a contextual narrative around science. And I think just finally to say to you is please take a global perspective where we're in this together. If you look at biodiversity and climate, there is no vaccines for these challenges. These are very much need to be addressed in collaborative research terms. So I think we need a strong, very strong initiative around this area. And I would encourage you to talk less about geography and more about global challenges, so that we really understand responses to initiatives in terms of really bottom-up collaborations that inform policymakers, that deliver solutions and create an environment in which we can all collaborate together. Aspirational, I know, but I really believe that this has to be a way forward. Otherwise, we end up competing against ourselves. Dr. Torman, again, thank you very much for the time and space. Congratulations again to this on this wonderful meeting, and we look forward to maintaining our dialogue. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Declan. Indeed, very good messages that's why I invited you to send these messages, which I cannot convey like what you have done. So excellent. Let me now invite Mr. Fabio Di Stefano. He's the team leader on economic integration, trade, digital, science, technology, and innovation at the European Union delegation in Belgium. He is also the responsible for the Africa Connect 3 project, which we are very thankful to the European Union on this support. Not to take too much, I will leave the floor to Fabio. Fabio, please.
Thank you very much. I think my background is not correct, is it? But doesn't matter. Okay, it's actually Dr. Talal Abu Ghazaleh, honorable ministers, representatives of the regional and national research and education network, dear participants, good morning or afternoon. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to ASREN for inviting the European Commission to this annual conference. It would have been great to meet each other in person as in the past, but the dynamic virtual setting that was put in place this year still enables us to continue exchanging our experiences and ideas, despite the limitation brought by this COVID-19 pandemic. It is an honor for me to represent the Directorate General in charge of international partnerships of the European Commission, and I'm happy to give our contribution to this discussion. We have all witnessed how this pandemic has accelerated international scientific collaboration and made the boundaries between science, society, and business increasingly blurred. COVID-19 has highlighted the relevance of digital tools and infrastructures and the need to facilitate the share and reuse of research data as rapidly, openly, and effectively as possible. It is clear, I think, to all of us that these changes are here to stay. Digitalization has increasingly become one of the main priorities of the European Commission internally and in the frame of our international partnerships. Starting from 2011, the European Union has been supporting the creation and consolidation of the research and education networks in Africa and in Arab countries through the program Africa Connect and EU Med Connect, by working very closely with the ASREN, UbuntuNet Alliance, and WACREN, as well as our European partner, GEON. Together, I think we can say that we have achieved remarkable progress, enhancing access of education and research institutions to secure adequate and affordable network infrastructure and tools. Looking forward, and it is a way to reply to Declan, to some of the comments, the European Union will engage even more in STI and digital with its international partnerships, focusing on both infrastructures and governance aspects, especially since the Digital for Development Hub, the D4D Hub, you may have heard of it, launched in December 2020. We have been consolidating what we define a Team Europe approach, mobilizing EU member states, financial institutions, and industry to join efforts in support of partner countries. And the recent EU Global Gateway communication that you may have seen in the news last week, and that Declan was referring to it, showcases the strategic relevance of digital infrastructure investments and research and innovation partnerships. The European Commission has also launched open science as a policy priority with the intention to make Europe a world leader in the field of data. Open science is a key driver not only of scientific progress, but also of economic and societal innovation and sustainable development. However, to harness its full value, many barriers have to be removed, including the lack of a clear structure and incentives for data sharing, lack of interoperability, and fragmentation of data infrastructures. The European Open Science Cloud is a clear step in this direction, and similarly, countries all over the world have started to invest in elements of policy at national and regional level that facilitate open science. International cooperation on this matter will be crucial. Since the inception of ASREN, the Pan-Arab Research and Education e-infrastructures have significantly evolved, interconnected national research and education networks of the Arab countries. Let me applaud the great work conducted by ASREN in advancing quality education, science and technology, and innovation capacity, and also for continuing to stimulate meaningful multi-stakeholder dialogue, including on how to leverage science cooperation to address today's challenges and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. I conclude by sending my congratulations to ASREN Chairman, Dr. Talal Abu Ghazaleh, and Managing Director, Youssef Torman, and by wishing you a great series of fruitful discussion. Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fabio. Indeed, your support is very important, and we count on that for the future also. And thank you for mentioning that open science is not only for science, it's also for economy. I like this word. So indeed, you are addressing us in a good way. We have usually, I want to, because one of my colleagues is about to leave, he has no time. So I will skip some speakers and go to Matthias Mtumbunka. He is the CEO of UbuntuNet Alliance. Oh, I'm muted. I'm not muted. Okay. Matthias Mtumbunka, he is the CEO of UbuntuNet Alliance in Malawi. Matthias, he's a brother and colleague. So I invite him to go to send his goodwill message because he has no time until the end of the meeting. So Matthias, the floor is yours now for a goodwill message.
Thank you very much, board chairman of ASLEN and my brother CEO of ASLEN, Youssef Torman, fellow regional CEOs of regional RENs, Fabio, our chief financier from European Commission. I would like to salute you, my brother Yusuf, and your team for organizing this wonderful annual conference for ASLEN. And thank you very much for coming to Zambia just last month and being with us, supporting us at the conference. And this underpins the mutual brotherhood that we have between the three regional RENs across Africa, yourself in the Arab region covering part of North Africa, and Boubacar in the West and Central Africa, and ourselves here in Southern and Eastern Africa. And as Fabio has mentioned, we work together on the Africa Connect project, which has helped to connect many universities and campuses across Africa, as well as research centers. And this has been possible because of the unity of purpose that we have between ourselves, the three regions of Africa. And it is our wish as a UbuntuNet Alliance that this unity of purpose continues and that our shared values continue for the benefit of many researchers, academics, scholars, and students across Africa. And for this, we are very, very happy that you have held this wonderful and successful conference, and therefore wish you the best of luck, not only for this conference, but also as you plan for 2022. Congratulations and all the best. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother, and I wish you the best because Matthias will be leaving UbuntuNet Alliance at the end of this month. So thank you very much, and wish you the best for the future, and we will keep in touch for sure. Let me now go back to the program. Now let me invite Dr. Haider Frihat. He is a senior innovation and technology advisor at the United Nations ISQA in Lebanon. He will be speaking quickly here, but he will be presenting tomorrow in the first session. I invite you to attend to listen to him now and tomorrow also. Dr. Haida, thank you for supporting us, and the floor is yours now, please.
Thank you very much, dear Your Excellency, Dr. Talal Abu Ghazale, Dr. Yusuf Torman, distinguished colleagues, friends, members of the scientific community in the Arab region and in the world. I think this is a great opportunity for me to meet with this distinguished group of technology and science and research enthusiasts and policy inspirers and policy supporters in their fields and in their organizations. And I am happy and I hope to be able to give value added tomorrow in my presentation about the role of the United Nations in supporting science, technology, and innovation in its plans. If you allow me, today I will just give a quick glimpse about the role of the UN in STI. As you remember, in the year 2000 to 2015, the UN was, let's say, leading the world in trying to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, which has a low dose of technology and scientific research in its goals and in its parameters and indicators. By the year 2015, it was clearly acknowledged that the world needs to focus more on STI in order to, first of all, rid the world of its chronic problems such as poverty and famine and so on, and at the same time advance us into the 21st century in appropriate institutions and 21st century tools to run 21st century organizations, whether we're talking about government organizations, private sector, universities, and international regional organizations. So we have noticed that we need to advance on the tools and techniques and the toolbox that we are going to use to march successfully and confidently into the 21st century. So in 2015, there was an inauguration of something called the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, which was the inception platform for the SDGs. The SDGs, as you know, is 17 goals and is covering the period between 2015 and 2030. We are talking about 15 years of planning worldwide with involvement at the very highest level of countries, such as country leaders, prime ministers, heads of states, and so on and so forth. So there was, of course, science and technology in each and every of the indicators of the Sustainable Development Goals, in poverty, in health, in education, in gender gap, in science, in labor, in life on Earth, life under the ocean, you name it, huh? But there was goal 17, which basically has 4 components. One of the components is called the technology facilitation mechanism, which is how the world need to utilize technology in order to achieve the sustainable development goals. Quickly, the UN has formed several tools and resources to enforce this technology facilitation mechanism. And there was the establishment of the Science, Technology, and Innovation for the SDGs, and a team from the UN called Interagency Task Team on the Achievement of SDGs via technology, via STI, via Science, Technology, and Innovation. Furthermore, the UN organizations has, let's say, advanced and created the United Nations Innovation Network. They have created a technology bank in its headquarters in Turkey, Istanbul, in Gebze, and we have advanced here our apparatus in the Arab world in relation to the internet governance, because we believe that internet has a good platform to advance science, technology, and innovation. And also the Arab Internet Governance Forum that works in this area. Furthermore, the Secretary General of the United Nations has put forward his data strategy to guide the statistical and the data part of how the UN is handling its data for the service of policymakers in the world. Where he set forth the technology strategy, and in fact, it is the advanced technology strategy and the innovation strategy. So I just want to mention that the UN is putting forward many tools to help advance science, technology, and innovation in the service of achieving the SDGs between now and 2030. And we are, of course, having listened to this distinguished group of people in their vantage points and in their comparative advantage and institutional advantage. I think there's in this forum there is more and more potential for more cooperation between our organizations to advance our cause. I just want to mention finally that at ESCWA, my organization, which is stationed in Beirut, servicing 22 Arab countries, we have established a center in Amman called the ESCWA Technology Center. The ESCWA Technology Center is hosted in the Higher Council of Science and Technology and the Royal Scientific Society, the Science Park of Jordan. And this ESCWA Technology Center has produced, over the last number of years, a science STI maps for the Arab countries. So each country in the Arab world, or most of them, we have created an STI map, which basically identifies the technology and science and innovation ecosystem in each country, and assigning a focal point, a national focal point for STI in that country. We called it the technology, the NTTO, the National Technology Transfer Offices, but it is basically mandated to streamline and make more coordination among these STI organizations operating in each of the countries, whether we're talking about government organizations, funds, science technology funds, we're talking about universities, apprentice education, and so on and so forth at the policy level. So I think we have some part of the story, but our story alone or our efforts alone cannot make it. We need to collaborate, we need to cooperate, we need to put shoulder to shoulder, hand on hand, in order to advance our cause of, in fact, having STI chip in advancing growth in the world and inducing economic and social growth. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Haider, again. Yeah, indeed, at ASRI, we are happy to be the facilitator for this cooperation, especially in STI. And we already started this, and we'll take it further. And looking forward to your presentation tomorrow on the details and so on. Now, let me welcome Ms. Fadila Bouganimi. She is a Deputy Head Unit at the European Commission, DG RTD in Belgium. The floor is yours, Dr. Fadila.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tolman, and I would like to, first of all, dear Excellencies and distinguished participants to this important conference, I would like, first of all, to thank you for having me. It is, of course, an honor for us at the European Commission to be participating to this conference. As you know, distinguished participants, fundamental changes have actually occurred these last couple of years, and both in the EU and in the Arab states. And it seems to me that despite these changes in the two regions, and maybe actually precisely because of these changes, a constant seems to persist and to remain, and this is our collaboration in research and in education. Perhaps one of the most important developments in our dialogue is the EU LAS, the League of Arab States first summit, which took place in February 2019. This reflected a strong political commitment on behalf of both sides to actually further deepen dialogue and cooperation in all fields, and especially in the field of research and innovation. The next EU LAS summit will convene in Brussels during the second half of 2022. It will actually be the occasion to take stock of joint EU LAS initiatives in several of the areas that were mentioned in the 2019 declaration, and these are migration, conflict resolution, sustainable socio-economic and technological development, amongst others. Science, research, and innovation were amongst the areas that were explicitly mentioned in the summit joint declaration, with an intent to develop Euro-Arab cooperation agenda in these fields. The joint 2019 declaration also reiterated the leaders' full commitment to the Universal 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Needless to say that the role of education, or better, the role of learning and the role of innovation are actually crucial to achieving the agenda for sustainable development. I would also like to highlight that the EU fully acknowledges the role of research and innovation in achieving a more resilient and more inclusive growth, and in creating sustainable employment opportunities in the region, in both regions actually. And this is fully embedded in the EU's new strategy with the Southern Mediterranean region, and also in our cooperation with Africa. This is actually also fully reflected, of course, in the global approach for research and innovation communication that we recently adopted. But we need to work together, and we need to create the enabling environments and tools to actually make that happen. I could, of course, mention a number of examples of our endeavors to support the cooperation between all research and innovation stakeholders in the region. In the past 20 years, for example, over 1,500 projects involving researchers from Arab states have been funded under the various EU different programs. This is quite a big thing. To give just a concrete example, under Horizon 2020, the previous framework program for research and innovation, the European framework program, there are more than 358 participants from Arab country partners involved in e-AGE21 projects. Some calls under the program targeted cooperation with the Mediterranean region. Some other calls targeted the cooperation with Africa, and we also had some specific calls targeting the cooperation with the Gulf countries, in particular in areas such as renewable energy, desalination, through supporting targeted research projects under the final work program of Horizon 2020. I could, of course, keep on going, giving you some examples. Declan, who spoke before me, told you what we are doing vis-a-vis the upcoming summit with Africa. And my friend Stefano also mentioned a number of projects in which ASREN is also participating. I would like to just draw your attention maybe to conclude with on the future, and say that we need actually to develop platforms to enhance information flows between academics, between industry, between policymakers, and this is actually what we call enhancing the innovation environment. And to that end, the EU recently, this was last February, we launched an innovation initiative with the Mediterranean region, specifically with a budget, an overall budgetary envelope of 15.15 million euros. This initiative aims at strengthening innovation through supporting clusters cooperation and startup ecosystems in the South neighborhood countries. The initiative will start soon in early 2020 and has the objective to support the development of startup ecosystems in the region, to create local capacities through assisting innovation organizations and tech hub. It is also meant to support the development of clusters in specific sectors and enhance cluster cooperation with Europe to, of course, generate new sources of economic growth and employment in both regions. Let me also mention that we are planning a ministerial meeting in 2022 with ministers for research and innovation representing the respective UFM member states, and we will focus this ministerial meeting on research and innovation agenda, and more specifically on climate change, renewable energy, and for obvious reasons on health. I would like to conclude by telling you, dear friends, that we hope to see much more engagement within our new framework program that started for more than 1 year already, that you know well, Horizon Europe. It has a strong international dimension, and we would like to see this international dimension opportunities seized by the Arab states. And I would like to finish with words of encouragement to really encourage you to have a look at these opportunities within the framework program. And I would like now to really finish by thanking very much and very warmly Asren for having me in this important conference, and for allowing me to actually take the floor and tell you about the opportunities offered by the framework program in front of this very distinguished audience. I thank you very much. I thank you very much for your patience, and I hand over the floor to you, Youssef. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. The thank must go to you, and we are so keen and ready to start the cooperation, and we count on your support to guide us, and we will be good nagger on this to take it further. So thank you very much. Now we have, as I said, we have many partners around the world with whom we have been working and receiving support, collaborating, and so on. So we have now the floor is for our CEOs of our partners, international partners, on a short goodwill message. Let me start by inviting our best support organization, Giant, through invite Dr. Eric Hauser. He is the CEO of Giant from Netherlands. So Eric, the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Dear esteemed excellencies, esteemed representatives, and esteemed colleagues. Thank you, Dr. Talal Abu Ghazal, and dear friend Youssef, for inviting me to deliver a goodwill message on behalf of Giant and its community at the ASREN's e-AGE21 conference. Giant is the pan-European networking organization, and I'm proud to be in company of so many esteemed speakers in this session. Like several of the previous speakers, I'm a strong believer in global research cooperation, and thus in good relationships between Europe and the Arab region. And coming from the Netherlands, I can say that since yesterday, there's a very special relationship between the Netherlands and Abu Dhabi, thanks to the Formula One. I am a strong believer in the principle of strong regions, strong regional organizations, and strong regional backbones, catalyzed by the cooperation of national research and education networks in that region, and interconnecting them to the global research and education network fabric to support global research. At Giant, we see ASREN as this unifying regional voice in the Arab world. We are proud of our long-standing relationship, driven by our shared mission of fostering collaborative research and education between our regions and further afield. I'd also like to thank the European Commission for their generous support throughout the years, specifically in the context of Africa Connect and UMET Connect projects. For ASREN, GEAN and our partners to achieve this mission. Thank you, Fabio. It's not always plain sailing. Connectivity prices across the region, for example, are still high, at times even unaffordable. But over the last year, thanks to concerted advocacy efforts, we successfully reconnected Morocco and Tunisia, and we will continue to jointly support our partners in the Eastern Mediterranean to have a firm place on the global connectivity map. And we also urge our friends in the Gulf region to work with ASREN and to join forces for optimized international capacity, deployment and utilization. ASREN has lined up an impressive conference program over the next few days, providing its NREN partners a platform to share achievements as well as challenges, showcasing the impact we have and giving our users a voice. I'm particularly pleased that the sessions on Wednesday bear the testament to the fact that ASREN has fully embraced open science with the intent to become an enabler, not only of cross-border, but also cross-disciplinary research activities. I wish you a successful conference with fruitful discussions, and inshallah, I look forward to joining you in person at a future e-AGE edition, not least to enjoy again the wonderful Arab hospitality. Thank you.
Shukran. Thank you, and inshallah we will meet. We will meet in the future, very near future, and we look forward to TNC also in Trieste in June. So thank you very much again. Let me welcome my brother Boubacar Bari. He's the CEO of West and Central Africa for Research and Education Network. We are partners not only in Africa Connect 3, but in representing the African Regional Research and Education Network, and plan together on this. So my brother Boubacar.
Thank you, brother.
Bari. Yeah.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Excellencies, dear ASREN community, distinguished participants, I am pleased to bring you the warmest greetings of the WACRAN community. We are proud to count ASREN among our close and solid partners, all working together in our quest to provide world-class services to the education and research community. The relationship with ASREN, established through the European Union-funded Africa Connect project, has grown to a level where members of our communities consider themselves as brothers and sisters. We congratulate ASREN for the progress made in expanding its network and service portfolio with the support of the Africa Connect and EUMET Connect projects. It is unfortunate that due to current circumstances, we cannot meet again in person to exchange views and experience. But I have no doubt that with the pertinent theme that we have chosen, the exchanges, even fully online, will lead to a very successful conference. Thank you to my brother Yusuf and his team for associating WACRAN to this event. I wish you all vibrant and fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have brothers all over the world. I have a brother in Latin America, in Chile. He is Luis Cadenas. He's the CEO of Red Clara, which is the Latin American Regional Research and Education Network. Brother and colleague and friend Luis, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. I am really honored. I feel honored to be participant in this opening session. I met you a few years ago, more or less 4 years ago, when I began as CEO in Red Clara. And I have been impressed by your commitment with this community and the work that you are doing for the Arabian states as a director of the Arabian State Research and Education Network. I liked very much the comments I have heard, I have listened today about open science. I think open science is a very important value and goal that we have all in front of us. Looking at the relevance that science has for overcoming the difficult situations that are being attended through the Sustainable Development Goals. And we share also our interest and our commitment with the problems of climate change. I hope we will be able to join effort, not just between us, but also with all the community of research and education networks all over the world. I believe really that we are the base to build a digital ecosystem to support open science. And I am a strong believer in the role of science in solving the issues of humanity. Even thinking about innovation, science is very basic to promote innovation and economic growth. I think we have a long path in front of us. I am happy to be here with you in this meeting. I am sorry not to be able to be in person, and we never have had the opportunity to be in the same event, except in the case of TNC, in the same event together. I hope soon after this year, and maybe when we overcome this COVID-19 situation, we can join or in TICAL or in e-AGE, wherever it is going to be in the following years. I am happy to represent here the 11 National Research and Education Networks of Latin America, and tell you that we wish you the best of the outcomes with this event, and looking forward to continue our fruitful collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. What I like is that we share exactly the same vision. I know the way you are planning for your region and for my region, and we also want to extend this to the rest to the entire region. And I appreciate our cooperation in La Francia, which will be presented later in the conference. So thank you very much again. Now let's go to Australia. I think he's now late evening. Philip Smith, he's the Senior Network Engineer at the Network Startup Resource Center. He will be speaking from Australia, representing NSRC, which has been provided us with a lot of support in terms of training, capacity building, and so on. Philip, I hope it is not too late for you.
No, thank you very much, Yusuf. It's 9 p.m. in the evening, so good evening from Australia. And so Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and all delegates participating in e-AGE21. The Network Startup Resource Center is very honored to be invited by ASRAN to participate in the grand opening of e-AGE21. Our director, Steve Hooter, apologizes for not being able to participate in the grand opening. I think it's 3 a.m. in Oregon in the US, so you have my pleasure instead. As many of you will know, the NSRC has been helping build and enhance network infrastructure around the world since the NSRC was founded in the late 1980s. We would like to thank all who are contributing to help us keep our global R&E community together during these challenging times. And that's from the network managers and operators to the numerous funders, government agencies, universities, research institutes, and all of the users across the ASRAN region. The NSRC is ready to continue working with the ASRAN community and support the scientists, professors, and students in the region to support their educational institutions and researchers. Even with the pandemic restricting travel and in-person gatherings, we have found that we've been able to help with a lot of technical training online, as well as provide remote engineering assistance to organizations who have requested support with improving and scaling their campus networks, or even their national research and education network infrastructure. The NSRC's work is made possible by grants from the likes of the National Science Foundation's International Research Network Connections Program and by generous donations from many supporters. All of this helps our work to improve internet access, connectivity, interconnections, and network performance for the global R&E community. Finally, I think a most fascinating program has been assembled by Yusuf and the team at ASREN and by the e-AGE21 organizing committees. And I hope all delegates will have a most enjoyable and fulfilling 3 days taking part. From the whole team at NSRC, congratulations to ASREN and all good wishes to your excellencies, distinguished guests and delegates. And I look forward to when we can meet again in person. And I certainly hope by this time next year, we'll be able to do that. Thanks very much, and back to you, Yusuf.
Yeah, thank you very much, Philip. Please send our message out. Will be our thanks to also to Stephen Hooter. Let me now invite Andrea Lwasi. He's the scientific director of Sesame, one of our very important partners. I will leave the floor to him to speak his goodwill message. He will be speaking also on tomorrow on the topic of collaboration and so on. But for now, it's a goodwill message. So Andrea, if you can, the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Yusuf, and thank you, ASREN, for organizing e-AGE21 and inviting me here. Your Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is a honor and a great pleasure to participate in this conference only a few days after the General Assembly of the United Nations has declared 2022 the International Year of Basic Sciences and Sustainable Development. From the Bronze Age to the present Silicon Age, we mark different epochs, eras, and civilizations by materials. And the importance of materials has only increased in the last few decades, owing to the innovation in the field of material sciences. But to understand how molecules, atoms, and electrons are arranged at the atomic, nano, and micro scale, and how they influence specific function of new materials and biological molecules, it is of fundamental importance to use a probe of high sensitivity. The intrinsically quantum nature of the interaction between photons and matter allows the analysis of phenomena at these scales. And as they interact with matter, infrared, ultraviolet, and X-ray photons produce signals that provide valuable information about the atomic and the electronic arrangement, allowing one to observe the world atom by atom. Sesame, synchrotron light for experimental science and applications in the Middle East, is a large-scale research infrastructure funded at a supranational level, which gravitates a large scientific group of scientists. Sesame provides cutting-edge experimental tools essential for research in material science, biology, protein crystallography, chemistry, condensed matter physics, earth and planetary sciences, paleontology, and cultural heritage. Scientific areas covered by light source facilities support the delivery of many of the UN Sustainable Growth Goals, and Sesame is developing a strategic plan that will help the facility to focus on areas of potential strength that will benefit the members and the broader international scientific group. In particularly, we are going to support the forthcoming African light source, and Sesame has been in 2020 the first synchrotron source to sign an MOU with the African Light Source Foundation. In this scenario, advanced high-performance IT and smart approaches to data analysis are now critical strategic enablers for organizing horizon for scientific discovery and innovative applications. Whether discovering new physics or engineering new materials, advanced computing technology allow us to exploit unprecedented large-scale and complex data to gain deep insight into new phenomena and structures and provide usable results having widespread impact. So together with ASREN, the mission is to enhance the infrastructure for the collection and analysis of data, meeting the FAIR principles of findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability. This will require investment in artificial intelligence and in methods suitable for handling, transferring, and analyzing multi-terabytes, petabytes of data per day. And also, we need to train the future generation of researchers to apply X-ray sources from frontier research in different disciplines and enable the next generation of computational physicists and engineers. So thank you very much for organizing this conference. Thank you for your attention. I'm looking forward to a successful meeting, inshallah.
Inshallah, thank you. We are looking forward. We started the collaboration and we are counting in our cooperation, especially the issue of synchrotron community in Africa, which we will work together to support the creation for that. Thank you and looking forward to your presentation tomorrow. Let me now actually, now our speaker is Howard Piffer. He is the president and CEO of Internet2, but again, it's early morning, so he provided us with a short video that we would like to share on behalf of Internet2. Are you ready?
Hello, I'm Howard Pfeffer, the president and CEO of Internet2, the U.S. National Research and Education Network. Let me first thank Yusuf Torman, managing director of SRN, for the gracious invitation to speak today. It's truly an honor to be asked to address all of you hosting and attending this year's e-AGE21 conference. You know, it's hard to believe that it's been almost 2 years since the global pandemic has changed all our lives. Like all of you, we at Internet2 have had to adapt not only to the impacts on our own organization, but to the impacts across our member institutions. Through these challenging times, several things have become clear. First and foremost, science and the efforts of the global research and education community have never been more critical. Secondly, we have become more reliant upon e-infrastructure for global research and education. National research and education networks play an important role in providing key enabling cyber infrastructure, such as high-speed networking, identity and access management federations, and cloud services to the global research and education community. However, it is our role as conveners of the community that is truly unique. By bringing together researchers, administrators, science agencies, and commercial partners, we help accomplish what no one institution or organization can do alone. I extend to you my warmest regards, congratulations, and best wishes for this year's conference, and to all the efforts you have made to support science and education.
So thank you, Howard, our colleague. We hope that we'll meet soon again in face-to-face. Actually, we have a very strong partnership with the Internet Society that started 10 years ago, and it's developing and evolving for more collaboration and so on. And they keep sponsoring our events and so on. So let me invite Nermeen Saadani. She is the regional director for ISOC in Cairo. So we are waiting for your goodwill message, Nermeen. I'm sorry you are the last one, but that's the order of first come, first serve. So thank you for, and if you can give us your goodwill message, please.
Sure, Dr. Yusuf, and no need to apologize. It's always okay to be there with you today. Thank you so much for inviting us for this elite gathering. Excellencies, ministers, and distinguished guests, good morning, and sabah al-khair from Min Masr. It is a real pleasure to be with you today and learn and share the successful developments that are taking place in our beloved Arab region. Indeed, the pandemic spillover effects have left us no other way but to stay connected and benefit from the various opportunities that the internet could provide us. At the same time, we need to maintain our safety and security online, with special focus on our children and young generations. The Internet Society's main mission and strategic goals for the internet was set to be or to maintain the internet as open, globally connected, secure, and trustworthy for everyone. We have also set our 2025 goals to build, defend, and promote the internet. We consider ourselves a neutral technical consultant to whom you may refer to lend a hand of help to build and secure your own networks and level them up to the state-of-the-art technologies and secure their integration to the new world we are living at. However, building the networks alone would not be enough. Education is key for our regional developments. This is why we have put together a very ambitious program for online training that covers a wide array of topics that could empower our young generation, especially from the technical side, to better understand how the internet works, the do's and the don'ts, and how to leapfrog smoothly in their career developments, and transfer real know-how based on best practices and practical experiences. Building our regional technical communities is something that we set as a regional goal for our Arab countries to be able to equip them with the right in the international markets. The numbers that have been registering from our program is indicative to the level of appetite we have to the learning and the learning platforms that are available out there. I would like to cherish the opportunity that I am here with us all for more collaboration together in 2022, so that we can hammer more on that perspective in our possible activities and avail those opportunities through your own platforms as much as possible as well. I invite you all as well to visit our booth in the events exhibition area, where you can see our 2022 action plan. Also, we are proud to have the opportunity to work closely with many of the esteemed organizations present out here, including, but not limited to, Omran, Astran, ESQA, and the rest, in addition to most of the Arab governments that we could reach out to. We avail ourselves to your kind requests to help to our best in the implementation of your own strategies and action plans, and we look forward to work together more closely in the next year. Thank you so much, Dr. Yusuf.
Thank you, Dr. Nermeen. Indeed, we are proud of our partnership, and we had a lot of achievements and a lot of progress and success and support. So I invite all to cooperate with ISOC, and invite you also to attend the booth at the conference platform. In addition to that, I would like also to thank RIPE NCC, with whom we have been a long partnership, but they are not present at the opening now. Let me now, I'm sorry for that, it's taking longer than planned for the session, but it is like everyone is speaking very important things that we cannot stop and so on. So we are, for me, I'm enjoying, so I hope everyone is enjoying also. Now we have the keynote. I'm sorry, Dr. Nizar, that you are the last speaker, but the keynote usually comes after the political opening and so on. However, let me invite Dr. Nazar Hassan. He is works at the UNESCO as a senior science and technology and innovation regional advisor at the UNESCO Cairo office. The floor is yours, Dr. Nazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Yusuf, for the opportunity to speak to such a group of distinguished guests, and to share some of my actually personal research work. We're talking research, and this is what I have here. Let me share my screen very quickly. Okay, my speech today will address what we will agree to call the most important contemporary issue today. And this comes, 6 years after the adoption of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda by all countries of the world. Most importantly, we will look into the possibility of achieving sustainable development by 2030 in most developing countries, and of course, including the Arab region. Very quickly, we will cover what is going on in terms of the current processes for implementation of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, together with what are the factors that actually make us consider sustainable development as a complex problem. It's worth mentioning here that the work presented in the next few minutes is an extension of actually my PhD dissertation that I did in the area of industrial engineering and operations research at the University of Massachusetts Amherst in 2003. Okay, in terms of the situation analysis, we need first to ask ourselves a really provoking question here, whether the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda is realistic and practical to achieve. And after taking some 2 years plus worth of research, my answer is yes, indeed. We definitely need to cater for each person within the world's population and leave no one behind in terms of poverty and inequality reduction. We need to safeguard the Earth's biodiversity ecosystem. We need to offer education, health, nutrition, food for all, basic services, industrial development, and the list goes on. But as a researcher, what I really find impractical is the methodology that we're currently following to search for solutions for the SDG implementation. SDGs implementation. You know, studying the interactions between the 17 SDGs with its 169 targets, yes. Sorry, because somebody kicked in. We have about 130,000 interactions. So is it really realistic to be able to look into a solution by studying the interactions? And the result is showing now, and the results actually started to show as the United Nations Interagency Task Team on Sustainable, on Science, Technology, and Innovation for the SDGs, acronym IATT, has decided to advise the member countries in their 2020 report to try to select the most important few SDGs for each country to try to achieve, instead of addressing the SDGs as one package. So let's see what we can actually do in the following few minutes. It's not turning, I don't know why. I can't turn the... Okay. Yes, the Sustainable Development Decision problem is definitely a multi-objective problem, and what that means is that resource allocation can be a serious problem, particularly if one chooses not to trade off between the different objectives or their targets. The Sustainable Development Decision problem has a level of complexity and that renders this type of problems as an ill-defined problem. And this is due to the fact that they have a set of characteristics that, and this is the important piece, is that it necessitates to address the solution in certain ways according to the optimization theory. First, the whole problem is inherently unique, taking into consideration each special case of the problem, and it should be treated as a one-shot operation. They say that there is no structured way for its modeling mathematically. Indeed, there is a high level of interaction between its different objectives and targets, and we mentioned that. So the problem is rooted within many disciplines, and its solution requires a wide range of tools. So the main solution approach that I'm taking here will hence be to design a new conceptual framework and utilize it to allow for the reduction of the problem by regrouping the many goals and targets according to its special environment, as in developing countries, and this is key. And we will see that it will require a specially tailored set of coherent policies, measures, policy instruments, and even new systems and approaches. And indeed, the solution requires the use of partnerships and coalition formation, which are seen as complex vehicles for delivering practical solutions to the societal and community issues. For our problem, the environment has been selected for developing countries, and hence, to start, we would like to investigate what needs to be done in terms of major actions to ensure sustainable development in these countries. Global reports have identified 4 major actions for national governments and international community to focus on. These are, first, you need to implement social protection measures and systems. Second, access to the poor to basic services. Thirdly, you have to develop the appropriate infrastructure. And the fourth set would be to have and develop the sound and practical policy frameworks. It's quite interesting when you look at those, because you realize that these are actually, these 4 are actually among the targets of the SDG 1 regarding poverty eradication. So now if we take these 4 actions and regroup our 17 SDGs with its 169 targets around it, we can easily come up with a new conceptual framework through which we can formulate the sustainable development decision problem for DCs. And don't worry about reading this 3 coming slides, because I'm gonna give you a visual of it. This is what we have been trying to do. For the infrastructure and innovation technologies set, we have identified the targets within the 17 SDGs that belong to that group. Here we have the group that belongs to the policies and policy instruments, and last but not least, the set of targets that actually belong to the special services and programs within the 17 SDGs. Now this is the visual of it. And what we see here is that our problem space will still address all the 17 SDGs, focusing on the targets that fall under the 3 mentioned subgroups. The total targets hence drops from 169 to 48 targets only. But and this is also an important point, that the synergy that will be created through the solution will spill over and cover many other targets, but without putting the burden on the problem model or the solution process itself. And this is one great advantage for this solution modality. This will hence allow us to subgroup the SDGs in 3 categories, namely the basic rights and services category, and these are 7 SDGs, and they are represented here by the yellow circle. The green economy development SDGs, and these are 9, represented by the green circle, and mainly tackling the infrastructure part, and the partnership development and revitalization set, represented by the blue circle, and basically consisting of all required policies, policy instruments, measures, systems that will successfully and in a seriously smart way allow building robust partnerships in the areas of finance, technology, trade, capacity building and training, governance, with high level of institutional coherence. For the sake of the model, the outer you go indicates that the SDGs of the inner circle will be implemented as a pre-designed condition within the SDGs of the outer circle. Again, let me put it off. Every time this thing rings. Okay, beautiful. For many of you, you might still remember that in 1987, the Brundtland report of the World Commission on Environment and Development made a strong statement that the goal of sustainable development would require the tools of a wide range of intellectual disciplines to be employed. and I'm quoting here, economics, ethics, engineering, and a host of others. And it's funny that during our research phase, this proved to be very true. And we were also able to identify a set of must-have tools to be able to reformulate our problem and rigorously seek to find an optimal solution for it. As you see here, we ended up with 5 actually tools: group decision making, and that would actually expand the feasible region of our solution, customer-based project management, optimizing the total value of the project, strategic management, which is actually the art of realignment of interest groups when you're forming coalition or partnerships, and it makes the strategic planning process issue-focused, selective, opportunity-seeking, and highly interactive. This work proposes a particular multi-criteria group decision-making that is interdisciplinary and integrated, okay, and that can be effectively applied to the a wide range of complex development projects. The new conceptual model reduces the problem, as I said, into 48 targets and successfully regroups them in 3 major categories. And these tools, the 5 tools you see, facilitate finding the optimal solution of our problem. So what are we up against? We are seeking a mechanism that have the ability to analyze and manipulate technical data to transform the many standalone activities under the selected targets into one or more grand project alternative that would essentially satisfy all of our 17 objectives. We hence end up with a very efficient algorithm that we call the modified dynamic strategic fit algorithm for solving our problem in developing countries. And by way of mentioning, the original dynamic strategic fit algorithm was actually designed in 2003 and successfully implemented to address the energy problem in Sudan. Algorithms are actually easy to solve once you have them designed through 3 main steps as shown here. And this is basically what the algorithm is supposed to do in a nutshell, finding the set of alternatives S that is actually at the intersection of all the selected 48 targets. Okay. Now we start initiating the algorithm by actually identifying the major development requirements, and these were the 4, and we ended up actually putting them as appropriate infrastructure, social protection measures, basic services, and so forth. And I don't gonna bother you with the details of the algorithm itself, but item 11 here is important because it utilizes the level of creativity and innovation that is required among the panel of experts to solve the problem of finding such activities that meet the requirements of multi-targets. Again, activities that meet the requirements of multi-targets at the same time. And of course, the criteria for alternative feasibility is when at least one activity under each selected target is part of the solution. And of course, using the final payoff tableau below, you can actually easily rank the different possible alternatives using a simple utility function, and it will also give you the opportunity of comparing the cost of the different alternatives. One important issue that was embedded in the utility function is that the weight of each selected target under each function has been set to unity, and that would mean that all targets addressed are equally important. This will ensure a balanced solution in terms of its economic, environmental, and social dimensions. Now, this is actually an example of the outcome of step 11, and it's kind of very interesting. There was a huge list of not what needs to be done, but also how it's done. And let me just read four very quickly here. In terms of finance, it referred us to use the cooperative governance and financial model to run the proposed Technopolis and bring families into the radar of financial institutions. In terms of technology, minimum land use for infrastructure was a requirement for cost effectiveness and efficient utilization. And for example, the building's design was actually would include community meeting space, satellite, SDGs, technical knowledge and education utilization, satellite hubs, schools, kids parks, sport, playground, hospitals, marketplace, aquaponics for nutritious food production, renewable energy generation, brackish water desalination, water efficient gadgets, well-designed wastewater and sanitation facilities, dining commons, and locally manufactured furniture using environmentally green material. And you know, just under technology, you find that you are actually meeting the requirement of at least 10 to 11 SDGs there. Capacity building showed us that we have a resource that is not utilized. Unemployed college graduates can be capacitated and trained as the required critical mass of technical force and practitioners, and deployed back into the rural areas to support the efforts of SDGs. And of course, rural villagers to be trained on relevant TVET skills to resume one of the many jobs facilitated by the new community setup. And last but not the least, I would like just to mention that under multi-stakeholder partnerships, local cooperatives with global private sector for localized mass production and development of SMEs creation, and the microfinance would be facilitated by the fixed address. Each of those poor families will have within the housing projects. Now, one of the outcomes of the algorithm was the design of what I call the pro-poor sustainable consumption and production systems standard, which is intended to support the creation and development of a new fully green economy that is completely detached from environmental degradation, as well as any use of natural resources, and this is important, that the current global different economies compete on. The pro-poor SCP system standard is a direct outcome of the step number 11 in the algorithm. You see in it a bit of engineering, material design, biodiversity, green procurement, optimal resource allocation, and waste management. These are actually some of the examples when implementing the algorithm, and also there are direct impact of step 11 in the algorithm. I'm not going to go through this, but we can actually definitely talk more if needs be. But here I want to stop at the development of semi-urban rural housing projects that are fully furnished by a local e.g. environmentally green material. And you know, we went actually further and we kind of put that in perspective, and behold, this is what we actually got. Such a building, imagine that such a housing project with a few high rises can actually replace a number of villages with all services included. I mean, like the 17 SDGs are embedded in this kind of housing. And the material. The material is environmentally green material. And here we are using actually granite stone and cast concrete to do all furniture. So all those housing projects that you're seeing will be actually fully furnished for the locals to live in. Okay, 5 suggested key messages focusing on progress and accelerating implementation in line with the UN Decade of Action. First of all, the international community should adopt what I proposed as the Aristotle's initiative that aims to enact principle of leaving no one behind by focusing on the well-being and development of the most vulnerable and most impoverished 30% of the population in each country or in each region, and this actually is not dreams. Brazil in between 2003 and 2011, they actually did this to their 15% most impoverished, and we see what the change that happened economically and socioeconomically in Brazil, and that was done in 8 years. So we have still 9 years, and I think we can actually do that. Now, high internet connection for all in the continent to ensure the real success of education digitalization, to say the least. So again, I remember that a few of our esteemed guests have mentioned internet and internet infrastructure, and that is key. The creation of a series of knowledge hubs that I call sustainable development technologies, education and utilization is important to have. Adoption and implementation of this new pro-poor sustainable consumption and production system is standard, is necessary, and its adoption would actually allow us to have new green building codes and develop and adopt a complete green procurement manual or guide. And last but not least, development of what I call the agro-based technopolis. Okay, a technopolis is basically a society with a concentration of technology-based businesses, and these technopolis would actually replace most of the rural poor villages and small towns to make available the current missing quality healthcare, education, clear energy, and so forth. So we actually do have an SDG implementation demo project that we can actually implement, and for collaboration and implementation of the herewith proposal, or even for comments and questions regarding the research work, please contact the author, myself, at the given email. I thank you very much for your time, and shukran lil isra.
And also contact me, because the topic is of interest not only for UNESCO, not only for Nazar at the personal level, but also interest to all of us, especially at ASRIN, as we are working together to see mechanisms and approaches to achieve the SDGs. And this is what we are starting at ASRIN and what we are learning and so on. I think the session was planned for 2 hours, it's taking 3 hours. But really, I could not, as a chair or whatever you want to call me for the session, I could not stop anyone from speaking, because everyone did excellent contribution in terms of support, in terms of the quality, in terms of guidance, in terms of the content. So the content of the opening, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of you all. I'm proud that ASRIN has such relation with such distinguished people and the speakers. So the next session will start in 15 minutes. So I invite you to join also. It will be about infrastructure and service and so on. Tomorrow we'll have 2 sessions on science cooperation. One of them on science cooperation. The second is about science communities and collaboration between communities across borders and so on, and what are their requirements and their needs. On the third day, we'll be discussing open science in 2 types of dimensions. The first dimension is about policies, about what is going on around, especially the UNESCO's recommendation. While in the second part of the day, the third day, will be speaking about open science platforms, initiatives, and collaboration towards achieving these the open science recommendation comes from UNESCO. However, for today, I think thank you for this session, not for today. Thank you for joining, all of you, and we will like to close the session now to be ready for the next session. So thank you all, and we will send out a report about these recommendations. I will take it further with your support, and we'll take it all together. Thank you very much, and the session now will close. Thank you very much again.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. God bless.